It looks like our stream is live here, so let me just rearrange this microphone so it's kind of in the path of my speaking here. All right, so I wanted to just quickly show you how I created this 10 by 40 composite inside Photoshop. So that you could replicate it yourself if you wanted to, or you know, whatever you would like to do. So what I did was I went through Lightroom and I gathered, you know, the 6 shots that I wanted for each side of the Eclipse, and I just dropped them into this 10-inch by 40-inch Photoshop file. And I did actually set up the canvas size to be 10 inches by 40 inches, so that I'm working with it at the print size that I'm going to be actually sending off to the lab. So I'm working 1-to-1 here when I composite this piece. So the way that I did it was I just pulled all of these images in and lined them all up, and I'll show you exactly how I line them up and composite them together. Because when they come in, they kind of look like this. My shots are kind of all over the place. If you actually photograph the eclipse yourself, you'll know that the sun moves across the sky, right? So you end up with a number of different shots in different spots in the same frame. So I have just dropped all of these shots into this frame kind of however they came in, right? So I've just embedded them in here. They're not linked, they're actually embedded. I'm sure you could do it as a linked file. I just decided to have them all come together so that they're embedded. So what I've done is I've set up some guides here. I wanted the guides to be 2 inches. I want 2 inches of space on either side on the ends here, and then I put a guide right in the center. And I placed this eclipse in the center and then placed my guides on top and bottom of the disk of the moon, so that I make sure that they're all lined up across this central space right here. And then what I basically do is I'm going to start with this image, and I have them lined up in order of what type of shot they are, right? So this is the last little sliver of it, and I'm going to turn each of these on and just kind of find out where that sun is. Oh, and I'm moving the wrong layer there. Hold on. Let's undo that. Let's grab the right layer. It's up here somewhere. There it is. So I'm just going to kind of very quickly just grab each one of these and bring them down here. Oh, that's fun. Let's do that again. Photoshop errors, they're always fun. All right, my computer's going a little bit slow, and I think it's because I'm streaming a 4K monitor while I'm trying to make these edits, so hopefully it's not too sluggish for me here. All right, so I'll just get each one of these kind of in the place that I want them. Oh, that one's moving the wrong one again. Let's bring that one back up. Let's go grab this one and bring it down. And you'll notice that each shot is covering up the sun from the previous shot, right? Because the black is clearly not transparent. So that can cause a little bit of a problem because it's going to cover up each section of the sun. But there's a simple solution for that, considering that these are all a singular color and black. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually just use my arrow keys to line the edge of that sun up with that mark there, and I'm going to do the same thing here, top and bottom, so that it's kind of sitting in that spot that I want. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab all of these images right here. And there's no reason to go through and create a mask or try to mask this out. That would be really hard to do because of this, the gradient in the orange glow of the sun. I want to keep that gradient, and I want to use that gradient to my advantage. So the way that I'm going to do this, I'm going to change the blend mode to linear dodge add. And what that's going to do is make all of the black transparent, but leave all of my color, and they're going to blend together fairly well. So now I can see the position of all these different suns, and what I'm now going to do is just position each one of these exactly where I want them to be and line them all up on these guidelines. Like I said, this is going slow because I am streaming a 4K monitor here, and I'm working with a bunch of very large 21 megapixel images that have all been embedded into this file. So it probably would have been better for me to convert these into JPEGs or something with a little less overhead than just embedding my CR2 images in here. But hindsight, right? See if we can get that positioned real well. Now the other tricky part of this is I'm not going to be able to use align and distribute to spread these out evenly. So I'm going to have to kind of eyeball that spread into each one. I can grab all of these and use the center function here because all of the images are the same size, but you'll see what it does with all of the suns because they don't all sit in the center. So it doesn't really work in this case because of how the position of the sun is different from each shot. So that's why I'm kind of going through here and positioning all of these manually because there's really no way to do it other than just doing it, more or less. You could temporarily put a mask around each one of these on the sun itself and try to use it that way to distribute it, but I just feel like that's probably more work than it's worth. So I'm just going to kind of move these around until I get them where I need them. All right, and so obviously I've got a little bit of space issues going on here. This circle would clearly come up into there, so I want to try to get these moved over as close as I can to that other sun, and then kind of space them out. So I'm going to put it kind of about right there. And then if you hold down your shift key, you can kind of constrain the way these move. So it'll only move left to right when you pull this over, which can kind of help you move these a little bit more precisely in where you want them to go. And I've gone too far because of the lovely lag. Let's put it right there. And then I can use my arrow keys to kind of eyeball the distance between these two suns here. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to hold down my shift key and move that over a bit. Right about there, maybe. Nope, I've gone too far. So I need to take that back just a little, just a touch. Maybe somewhere about there. You could get super precise and pull out, guide along here to get each one exactly positioned. You'd have to figure out the math of where they all get positioned across there. That's not me. I'm not about to try to do that because I will drive myself insane. And I will never feel like it's actually right. It's never going to actually be sitting in the right position. And I'm moving the wrong sun again. So let's undo that. grab the correct image. There we go. I know there's some of you out there that are probably screaming, why don't you have auto select turned on so that when you click you can move? I never have auto select on because I prefer to select things in the layers panel. I know it's kind of crazy of me, but it's kind of what I do. And auto select will not work on these particular images because, as you can see by the pink line, every time I move it, the image actually ends clear out here, so I wouldn't be able to select that image by clicking here. I would actually be selecting this one because they all overlap. So auto select wouldn't particularly help in this case. So I feel like that's pretty close. This one still feels like it would be overlapping that one, so if I want to give that a little bit more space, I can move it over to the left a little bit and just kind of keep tweaking these. But that's pretty much the gist of how I composited those lines. Now, if you look real close, you see right down here that one of the glows is getting chopped off. One of these files, the sun was close enough to the bottom of the frame when I took the photograph that it kind of comes up to the bottom of the sensor here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn one of these off until I find out which one it is. Looks like it's that one. And I'm just going to create a mask on there. And then I'll just kind of blend that in. So I'm just going to use a really large brush. Let's get a little bit of, let's get a soft brush there. And I'm just going to blend that in a little bit so that it doesn't look like it just comes to a harsh end. Looks like I blended a little too much back and forth there. Gosh, I am just not getting that one great there, am I? So let's turn the opacity down so that we can kind of blend that edge a little bit better. So you can kind of turn these on and off and see if there are any more weird chopping angles that disappear. Doesn't look like it. It looks like everything, yeah, looks like everything's good and looking the way I want it to look. So that's good. So again, it's totally up to you how much you want to adjust this, but this gap here and this gap here are not quite the same, so I'm gonna grab all of these right there and I'm gonna move them over. And again, I'm just eyeballing it a little bit so that I can make it look roughly the same between each one of these gaps right here, until I get it where I feel like it's working pretty good. So, all right. So if that's kind of the position and placement, what I originally did was I brought in all the photos for the left side, because I had actually taken all those photos. I took a little over 2,000 photos of this particular eclipse, and so I took all of those photos and I laid them all in this way. But the problem was I had my camera set on an intervalometer, and so it was just taking a photograph every 5 seconds, and I couldn't find photographs that perfectly lined up with these 6 stages, right? Obviously I have the full sun over here, and then I've got these 5 stages of the eclipse as it was happening. I couldn't find the 5 stages as the moon was moving out of the way of the sun to go the other direction over here, which kind of bothered me. Like I have the 5 stages, but they don't match exactly, and so it looked too asymmetrical, and I'm a little weird about symmetry. So what I decided to do was actually just duplicate the right side and then flip it over. So I just flipped it horizontally, which will give you that, and then hold the shift key down and move it over. and just line it up with this other side over here. Okay, you don't have to worry about aligning it too perfectly right now because we've got one more maneuver to do, because this is actually upside down in how it's positioned now. So we're going to transform it again and flip it vertically. And that puts it in the correct orientation. So now we'll just move this down and see if we can line that up with that right there. And there you go. That is pretty much how I created my solar eclipse composite. So my intention is to get this printed on a 10 by 40 inch aluminum panel, a big metal sheet. It will look really awesome, nice and sharp, and I really love those because they have really good rich black colors, and hopefully it looks really great over my door in my office. So hopefully you learned something in this video. If not, watch another video until you learn something new. But thanks for joining me, and for all you people that are watching this on Patreon, thank you so much for supporting me. I appreciate your financial and emotional support in all of the different things that I do. So thank you much, and we'll see you in the next video.